Welcome everybody to this epic morning on our sunrise safari here in South Africa. As you can see, it is an action-packed, thrilling start as we have the snail mobile at high speed across the sandy soil. Look at them go. Isn't that a picture of kind of motion and power as it glides across the surface at a rate of, well, into the snail world, absolute knots. So it is really moving quite fast for a snail. Good morning everybody, my name is Tristan and welcome, like I said, and on camera today I've got a Senzo. There we go, Senzo. Nice to have Senzo back from leave. Haven't been with Senzo for quite some time, so it's always nice to have him along for the ride this morning. Now remember, we are live and interactive, which means that you all can send your questions and any sort of things that you want to say to us. So if you want to say hello, then you can say that too on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or on the YouTube chat. Now we've had a bit of rain over the course of the yesterday, or not last night, the night before. And that's why we're going to have snails like this probably all over the roads during the course of our drive. They really are fascinating creatures. I joke that that it has been an explosive start, but for a snail, it is moving quite fast. You can actually see how amazing their movement is from this angle. Often we see these kind of snails and they're generally quite stationary when we find them because they get a bit of a sort of fright and then they tuck themselves in. But you can see how there's actually no movement really of the sort of edge of their foot pad. So you're not seeing any rippling of muscles or anything going along. So what these guys do is they're basically sliding. So that's what they kind of do. They don't actually have to physically grab onto anything and pull themselves along. They secrete their moisture and this little sort of sticky, well, not sticky, I suppose, it's I suppose like saliva, if you want to call it that, and that secretion helps basically lubricate the surface of the soil and their body. And then they've got muscles that run down sort of the middle part of that foot pad that allows them to then just glide over the surface of the soil without very much effort at all. It's pretty amazing actually to watch them going about it and the way that they can move without really too much movement at all. It's very relaxed and is about as efficient as one could ever ask for. Now this particular land snail is probably just trying to cross the road. It just takes a long time for them to do so, and you can see it's kind of looking out with its eyes. It's trying to just check what's going on. Those two protrusions coming off the top of the head are eyes, and they are trying to kind of just make sure that they see any predators that coming. Now you can also see that they camouflage very, very well, so we're not going to try and avoid driving over any snails this morning and make sure that we look out for all the little things on the roads that will be there because of the rain. And while we do that, let's send you across to my good friend Brent Leo Smith, who's going to be exploring the wilderness of South Africa on foot.
Good morning, and welcome to an absolutely stunning morning here in the Sabi Sands Game Reserve, South Africa. My name is Brent Leo Smith. I have Wiem, aka the Wildebeest, on camera. Now, isn't it incredible that you can go on game drive and on foot while visiting the wonderful country of South Africa? Now, we're going to start our morning off with a little tracking quiz. Aha! Now, there we go. So you can see this track happened probably just after the rain, when the ground was quite wet, and it's got very, very distinctive doors out in the front, and you can see size-wise, not very big.
Now, it sounds like, unfortunately, there's a few little technical gremlins that are hanging around, but I just got a very, very exciting update from somebody else saying that there might be a little leopard in our future. So we're going to have to turn around though and go a different way because we can't go the way that we're going, and let's not drive over another snail. So I need to turn around quite quickly, and then we've got a long drive towards the eastern side. Now, I'm not sure where Steve is, but we'll try and kind of maybe coordinate with him, although I think he's having a few little gremlin issues with his vehicle at the moment. So we'll head there because we know Rusty's the most reliable at this stage. Let's try and get there as quick as we can, and it will be hopeful that she'll still be there. So it sounds like a female leopard that is on our eastern boundary. There's going to be the most glorious sunshine as well this morning, so we're going to try and combine the two. Wouldn't it we to have a leopard in a tree silhouetted with this pink sky that's going to come up a little bit. So hopefully it's going to be the case. Now, the leopard that is in question, it sounds like is a leopard that has a cub that we actually haven't seen very much of at all. In fact, we haven't seen it at all. So we're going to try and head there. I know a lot of you will know that that's Kuchava. So apparently she was seen not too far away. So we just need to get kind of towards Cheetah cut line and try and see if we can get there. We got an update from the guys that are sort of to our south, and they saw her on the cut line moving. So we're going to try and head there quickly and be able to try and find her. Now, this is our intrepid bushwalk team that are in front. They're going to be heading out. You can see Brent and Viam and Herbie all together. Look at that. There we go. They're striding up the road. Brent is going to club me with his stick. Little does he know that his stick is too flimsy and will just break. And we're going to blind him with our LED lights. Look, let's blind him. He's like a deer in the headlights. There we go. And he's moving. Don't hit us with his stick, Brent. No. Behave yourself. Viam, get him under control. Brent is a bit of a hooligan sometimes. Anyway, we've successfully avoided being hit with a stick, which is probably a good way to start the morning. No one likes to be hit with a stick in the first thing in the morning, so that's quite nice. Right. What a beautiful morning. We had a bit of rain, like I say, not last night, the night before. It's kind of washed everything clean, and this morning feels crisp and clear and just the kind of perfect conditions to be out and about. And hopefully it's going to lead to a lot of sightings for us. Hopefully it's going to be a busy, busy morning with lots of different things. Often after the rain, though, it is quite nice from a sort of diversity point of view, because you get a lot of different things that come out. Actually, I don't even know why I've forgotten to tell you and waited so long for this. Last night, we went on a little bumble, and I was with Nikki and Jerry and Alicia, and we were going down on Philemon's cut line. And so we were just plodding along, you know, minding our own business. Nothing was really kind of happening. In fact, it was pretty much everyone was just driving straight and not really looking around too much. And then in the middle of the road was an aardvark. So we managed to see an aardvark last night, a massive big male aardvark. And he was on the road, and then he ran across the road, stopped a little bit, and then ran up a termite mound. And he sat on top of the termite mound for a good few seconds before he then disappeared down the other side. It was absolutely amazing. So it was Jerry's first aardvark and Alicia's first aardvark. And Nikki, I think, had seen one before. Nikki, you've seen one before on Djuma, haven't you? Yes, I think Nikki's seen one before on Djuma. And then it was my first one on Djuma, but I've seen a lot in this northern Sabi Sands before. But epic sighting. I wish we could have had it on a live drive, because it didn't really run very far. It kind of gave us a really good view of it just sitting on top of this termite mound with these big ears and long tail. It was very, very cool. And it's an animal that, as we often talk about, is really rare in these areas. So it was an epic sighting, and I believe well, the girls were thoroughly thrilled. Actually, they were squealing and squeaking like little toys that you get in a shop. So it was very funny to watch, but it was very cool as well. As always, one of those very special things when you bump into an animal like that we so rarely see. The thing is that there actually are a lot of them here. It's just the problem with them is that they sort of hide quite a lot, and particularly now in summer with the long grass that we've got and the sort of, you know, the density of the bush, it makes it very difficult to spot things like that. You have to just kind of catch them on the road. But what an epic last 2 nights I've had. I had a honey badger and now a aardvark, which is very cool. So 2 of our rarer animals that we get here have shown themselves, and maybe can we dare to say we can get a trifecta with a pangolin maybe this afternoon or this evening? What do you think, Senzo? I think so. Good. Now, let's send you back across to Brent. I know he was walking up in the direction that I had been traveling, and I wonder what his plans are for the morning.
Well, Tristan, if you want to find pangolins, I can give you a few pointers. But, okay, we found something very interesting here. Normally, we wouldn't interfere at all. There's actually a grub digging itself into the ground. It looks like it's a beetle grub. It's quite vulnerable at this stage, but the reason I say we wouldn't normally do anything, if you look carefully, you can see it's in the middle of the road. So I don't want it to dig too deep, and it's not going to be able to dig too deep, because you can see it's going to get through that soft top part, and then because of all the cars driving here, that is rock hard. So all this grub's going to do is end up being squashed. So I'm going to take it out. Oh, that's very cool. And I'm going to rebury it somewhere else. Look at that. So it is one of the bigger beetle species of grub. There's quite a few different species that look like this. Dung beetles, but this isn't a dung beetle. Just because of it's not in a ball of dung. It could be a longhorn beetle, a wood borer that is now finished eating as much as possible, and I don't know why it would leave the wood there, but it's definitely one of the bigger beetles. Oh, sorry, Vim. The bigger beetle grubs. Could be a jewel beetle grub. That's a very strong possibility at this size. And you can see it's completely full. It's reached full size, and it's now trying to crawl into and dig itself into the ground, into a place where it can form a chrysalis and metamorphosize into an adult beetle. So as I said, normally we wouldn't touch and move them, but because it's in the road and all it's going to do is get driven over, it's lucky Tristan missed it, because Tristan's tracks I'm sitting on. So I'm going to put him off in the soft sand over here. There we go. That's a much better place to dig. Oh no, that's a bad place to dig. Come look here for him. Oh, come look here quickly. I'll find another place for the poor grub shortly. But we've got termites on the move, and mostly soldiers. It looks like, yes, they're busy building a new tunnel towards somewhere. Now, I'm going to put the grub away from the soldier termites. Of course, they would hurt it. Now, Tristan was chatting about an aardvark, and aardvarks like eating termites. Now, soldier termites have quite a specific defense, and obviously they don't have very good eyes and stuff, so I'm going to show you a little trick. If I breathe on these termites, you suddenly see all the males, all these big, not the males, the big soldiers, get very upset. And they start moving their heads, so they pick up carbon dioxide. So if an aardvark was there, they would pick up the carbon dioxide, and now immediately they're on alert, and they'll try bite. Unfortunately for them, their defense doesn't work very well against aardvarks, who will munch through the stick. Other termites have chemical defenses. There are many thousands of different species of termites. Now I'm going to see if I can coax a soldier. Oh, another one got me somewhere. sneaky little one out of nowhere. You little devil, you. Enough of you termites. I'm moving on before I get bitten again. Ow! So, some of the bigger species of Macromides termites can get very big, and harvester termites in particular, and you can actually use their heads as stitches. So if you pick them up and you've got a big open wound, you can clip them into your skin and use as stitches. And you guys will notice Herbie wandering around behind me, and he's just checking for tracks. And now you got a little bit longer to try to figure out what that track is that we showed you, because Steve has got the sun rising to the east.
Yes, we do. Very, very good morning. We are here live in Djuma in South Africa, the Sabi Sands Greater Kruger National Park, where the sun is rising in the east and it is waking us all up. The birds and the bees are alive and the birds are calling. And this morning we hope to show you a number of grass species, tree species, and how diverse the amazing bush veld species can be out here in the Kruger National Park. Of the
930 species of bird. Here we can get about 300 plus minus, and there are over 90 different grass species that can be found in these areas, not to mention how many trees. So we're going to spend a lot of time this morning on diversity and looking at how wonderful South Africa is as a tourist destination. My name is Steve Falconbridge. Welcome. I'm joined by Ferg on camera. I do apologize about some technical issues we were having there. But we get to see the sunrise. How marvelous is that? So this morning, as I said, we're going to look at diversity, trees, grasses, and what is awesome is we can see tracks on the ground to see the diversity of mammals that we have in the area. We might not be able to see all those mammals, but that is the beautiful thing about tracking, is that you can find signs of animals out here in the bush. It's a passive way of identifying species. And as Tristan was talking about with the aardvark, animals like the aardvark and the honey badger are only really seen through tracks, very rarely seen, so very special indeed that he was able to see them. Please send through your questions, hashtag Safari Live, follow us on the YouTube stream, let us know what else you'd like us to focus on this morning. There are going to be insects out, there's lots of termite activity, lots of little networks on the road that they've been building, so we might find a few, as Brent has already found. This is when they make the most of it, when they start moving around to breed and to start new colonies. Good morning, Cindy. The temperature is 21 degrees Celsius, 71 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm wearing a jacket this morning. It was a little bit fresh as we came out. What is that? There goes one of our bird species. Ferg, let's see if he's going to stop in the tree. Oh, how marvelous is that? He has gotten hidden behind the bushes. It looked to me to be a small raptor of sorts, something like a Wahlberg's eagle. There we go. He's sitting on the log at the back there, Ferg. Can you see him? Marvelous. You've got two other bird species. The fork-tailed drongo's busy bombing him. Look how easily identified that eagle is if it turns its head. It's got that little crest on the top of the head. And if you look closely, you can see that there's feathers all the way down to the feet. This is one of our migratory species that adds to our diverse bird list during our summer months and will soon be departing north to spend its overwintering time in North Africa. There's a bird that will actually feed almost exclusively on insects and then small things like rodents and lizards, even some small snakes. And they do breed in the area. We've had 2 successful breeding pairs of Wahlberg eagle in the Djuma alone this year that we know of. And he's also enjoying the sunrise. Marvelous, listening to the dawn chorus. The birds start to wake up, they sing for their territory. Okay, so we're going to head back to camp quickly to sort out some technical issues. Let's go back over to Brent Leo Smith. I think he's got some answers to the quiz that he started with a few moments ago.
Good morning. Welcome back. Indeed, I have some answers for that track quiz. We had wild dog track, which is a very good guess, but it is too small to be a wild dog. And that was from Safari Dean. A wild dog track would be significantly bigger. Now if you look back at that track, Dory, it's got 2 very distinct claws, or 4 very distinct claws on it because of the soft sand. And leopards have retractable claws, so it's very, very seldom you'll ever find a leopard track that's got the claws out unless they're about to pounce. And it sounds like someone has got it right. So we're just looking very carefully for tracks here. The ground is so hard, you can see. And well done, James. Indeed, it is a jackal track. Sides striped jackal. Okay. Now, black-backed jackal is generally a little bit bigger. And also, I know because I saw a side-striped jackal in that area yesterday. So that's how I know. So we're looking very carefully up here. So we're trying to second-guess Hukamuri and where his normal routes are. So for those of you who don't know, Hukumuri is a male leopard. He's currently the dominant male leopard in this area, so we're going to try find him on foot. And just a quick update on the lions. So it sounds like the Avoca males are back in Buffelshoek to the northeast of us, and the Inkahumas, unfortunately, are, upon hearing the roars of those new young male lions, have moved south, and they're quite far south of their normal territory. They are sitting around the Londolozi boundary. Now, of course, leopards and lions are not the only cats we have here. We've got caracal and serval. Philip, unfortunately, we haven't had any small cat sightings recently. At this time of the year, our small cat sightings are very low. The grass is at its highest at the end of summer, and we will normally have better sightings of caracal and serval during the winter months, when the grass and the bush isn't as thick. Okay, we're going to see if we can scrounge out a big cat out of the bush, and let's see how Tristan's race towards that potential leopard sighting is going.
Well, we've been waylaid a little bit by one of the more sort of beautiful birds that we have out here in this part of South Africa. So a paradise wider is what it is called, and they are often around. In fact, since it's gone onto a beautiful branch where you can see its color. So just across to my right hand side, it's just gone down into the grass. Unfortunately, I was hoping it was going to stay up on the bush itself, but it's in the grass, which is going to make it very, very difficult to actually see it. But these guys are seed eaters. You'll find that they kind of move around and bounce around on the ground looking for seeds, and they go through a massive change. They're not always that coloration. It's just when they're breeding that they get that long tail streamer. You can see those are females that are in there as well. The females are a drab coloration in comparison to the male with that beautiful big long tail that he has. So it's a very cool bird to see, and there's been an influx of them in the last little bit. We've seen quite a few around in the last sort of 3 weeks or so. Anyway, we are on Chitwa, and we are slowly moving eastwards, because it sounds like this leopard is not on Cheetah Cut Line, but much further east. So we're going to try and see if we can get some luck and be able to show you guys a leopard at some point. Right, let's carry on though. Let's keep heading east. I was hoping that that bird would pop up onto a nice branch for us and we'd be able to see it nicely, but it did not do so. It just flew further into the grass, and so that's not exactly what was supposed to be planned. He didn't get the memo this morning on this Saturday, but how beautiful is it on this open area this morning? It's kind of got this big sort of open clearing, big dam down at the bottom, and one of the sort of more exclusive lodges within the northern Sabi sands. So Chitwa down at the bottom with this beautiful big dam, and the light this morning is absolutely wonderful. It's this golden colored light. It's very, very pretty out here. It would just be nice if we had a situation where we had a leopard on here. That would make it very, very easy. In fact, we do have one animal that's sitting there. You see it, Senzo, in the middle. It looks like a waterbuck that is sitting down. This is one thing that's really nice about a area like this where you've got water, is that you'll have a lot of different species of animals that potentially will be close and will kind of move around in this area. So you've got this waterbuck that's having a bit of a rest. It's probably enjoying a little bit of the sunshine that is coming down on it after a rather cool sort of start to the morning. So I'm sure this is thoroughly appreciative of the sun. So, Gail, animal behavior changes during winter just from a point of view that it becomes a lot harder for them to find food and water. So water becomes a much more kind of sought after resource. When we've got a lot of rain, water is spread all over the place. You find little kind of pans, natural forming pans that fill, and so animals don't really have to walk that far for water or food if you're a grazing animal, and therefore the predators, they find food spread out all over the place, and it's a lot easier. But in in winter, obviously, that's not the case. And so the animals have to travel a little bit longer distances to get towards water. The grazing becomes not as good, as well as the browsing. Neither of those are very good at all. And so the poor animals, start to lose condition. And that means that it becomes a lot easier for the predators in terms of hunting than it is in the summer months. Predators in summer can find food easily and find where the animals are, but they struggle to be able to pull them down because generally they're the healthiest, they're fittest, they're strongest, and it makes life quite difficult. Now in the winter, though, the animals start to fatigue a little bit, and it becomes a little bit easier for them to do their job. And the animals concentrate around water, so they just go and sit at water and they wait, and then things come in and out. So you find a lot more kind of movement around a waterhole than there is now. You'll also find that the animals kind of spend a lot longer close to those water points during the course of winter. So that's pretty much the major change in this particular area, and that's because where we are has got quite a lot of artificial water, and it means that the movement of animals is not actually that far in terms of migratory movements, but they will congregate around those areas. Good, let's keep forging eastwards as we go towards where this leopard is, and while we do that, let's send you back across to Steve. I'm not sure if he's still gazing upon the sunrise.
Always gazing upon the sun, Tristan, I can't help myself. But here we have found, out of the many, many animal or mammal species that we find in the Kruger Park, here is probably the most diverse that is found in the Lowveld. It is an Impala, and it's very often overlooked. Most people will see Impala and go, oh no, another Impala. But their dynamics and their behavior and just their evolutionary tale is definitely one to talk about. Apparently they have not evolved for 6 million years, which is a very long time. I mean, they reckon that humans diverged from chimpanzees at about 6 to 4 million years ago. So a lot has happened to us since that time, and yet the Impala remains unchanged. You can see a herd at the back there. They're busy feeding off of the termite mound, the grass that is there, because the termite mound provides all these little hotspots, these nutrient-rich hotspots within the area, which allows for different species composition, different grass diversity, and also a difference in the nutrient composition in the soil. And if you were to choose what to feed on, you would most certainly choose the grasses and forbs growing off the termite mound. And by looking closely, you can see those three youngsters eagerly munching away. And you can also see how well browsed and grazed it is around that sort of sandy patch area. Good morning, Lou. You would like to know how many game parks in South Africa? Wow, there's quite a few, Lou. Off the top of my head, I can't actually tell you the answer to that. I mean, Sand Parks itself, South Africa National Parks itself, has got probably 20. And then there's a number of private ones. Many. Here we are up in the Lowveld, where the entire Kruger National Park joins to places like the Umbubat, Timbavati, Klasiri, Balule, and then down here in the Sabi Sands, there's numerous numbers of sort of private game reserves that are all sort of open to the greater Kruger National Park, all to increase the land surface area, and obviously to also increase the movements of animals and the diversity. When we find ourselves in the Kruger National Park, we have got a soil gradient from the north of the park to the south, which kind of runs sort of east to west in a certain way. And then as you move north to south in the Kruger Park as well, you've got a different rainfall gradient. So the different soil with the different types of moisture provide very different habitat. And there's about 36 different vegetation types within the Greater Kruger National Park, which provides for obviously the enormous diversity of not just mammal, but bird and also insect and reptile species. Beautiful watching these impala going about their morning feeding. It is beautiful. They are so often overlooked, but there's just so much to them. I mean, their color, they're probably, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful antelope around. Ferg agrees with me. And it's their strategy, their ability to mixed feed, to feed on grass when the grass is good, and then to switch to a diet of leaves when the leaves are good. They can feed on pods. They can feed on fallen leaves. They also have what we call a cleft lip, which enables them to feed or browse or graze right down onto the ground. They can get their teeth right down there, and the small mouth parts make for their very selective behavior. And the big topic always in these national park areas is the destruction that elephants create. But not many people think about the destruction that a small herd of impala can do by moving through. You can imagine any tree sapling that tries to grow when 50 to 100 impala walk through. The chances of that sapling surviving are very, very difficult. But we don't see that because it's such small, fine details in the landscape. We seem to focus on the big destruction of the elephants that create the habitat and engineer it to make it as diverse as it can be. So from these beautiful scenes of these impala, let's go back over to Tristan, who's down in Chitwa.
Well, it is one of the most beautiful animals that we have out here, and particularly when the light is good. Impalas are one of my favorites from that point of view. They absolutely kind of radiate color when the light is good, and so I always enjoy spending time with them, and often think that they're an overlooked animal. Just because they're very common out here doesn't mean that they aren't something that we should appreciate and spend time looking at. And I'm sure, as Steve has touched on, they're vitally important for the system that we are in. Without them, there would be a serious lack of food and grazing and browsing that is done, which would lead to all kinds of issues. So important to have the impalas around, and nice that they are kind of spread all over the sort of eastern side of South Africa, and then on the western side you get a very similar animal in the form of a springbok. And so nice that we have the best of both of them, because they're both very cool animals. Good. Now we're going to try and just keep heading east. We've still got a little bit of a way to go, but I'm driving a little slower than I was, just because where we're heading is an area where there's a male leopard that's been hanging around, an older male leopard, and he's kind of been in this area for the last couple of days, but no one's really found him. So when driving towards other animals, it's always good just to double check for tracks and various other things. And the road that we're on at the moment is a really nice soft sandy road, so it's perfect for tracking. You get this nice kind of softness that allows for tracks to be very clear as you go along. So hopefully we'll get a bit of luck at some point. So Oscar, yes, particularly on mornings like this where there's a lot of dew in the grass, so we'll have to ask Brent to show you. As he walks through the grass, he's going to get very, very wet, and there's going to be a lot of moisture on him, and so in the early mornings, much easier for him to be able to get onto a road, walk, and to try and kind of just stay clear of the grass seeds that are sticky, the moisture that's sticking to him. And so animals, as we know, particularly things like cats, they don't really like to get that wet, and so they get onto the roads and they'll walk. Also, roads are a great sort of territorial marking point. Because a lot of animals use them and walk on them, it's a perfect place to mark your territory. And so you'll find things like lion and leopard and rhino and various other territorial animals will come onto an area like this and then onto the road, and they mark just on the edge of the road, and they know that any other animal that walks down here will pick up their marking very, very easily. And so it's a perfect place to mark. So in terms of patrolling territory, it's a really good area to kind of be. Now, come on, Rusty. So Rusty has a sticky accelerator that you have to kind of just push a little bit harder, and then you lurch forward. Anyway, talking about Brent and talking about water on the grass, let's send you back across to Brent, who I think is in the grass with a very cool little animal.
Well, you can see all the dew along the grass, and we're being big cats this morning. We're also walking down the roads. Now, oh no, it's disappeared. So we've got a pretty little flower here called an anthericum. There he is. But everywhere, if you look carefully, there's life. There's a tiny little spider. There he is. Now, spinning a little web around the flower, having a little trap in his beautiful home. Now, speaking of web, remember to vote for Safari Live at the Webby Awards, which apparently is the internet version of the Oscars. We're up for a couple of awards, so we would love some webby votes. So please vote for us. But as I said, if you look closely at anything, there's always life. Now, the Anthericum flower doesn't actually even have a common English name, just a scientific name. Very, very pretty flowers. You find them in amongst the grass. They're quite tall flowers. There's a few different species of Anthericum. And I think we get 2 different Anthericums in the Sabi Sands, a tall one and an extra tall one. There you go. So that's the nice thing about being on foot, is you can find a lot of these smaller things that you don't see on the vehicle. And also while walking and searching and tracking for big cats on foot, you don't have the noise of the car, so your ears become incredibly important in finding the animals. So we're listening for lots of different things, alarm calls, or even, if we're lucky, the roar of a lion. Now, unfortunately, we're on the opposite side of the reserve to where Kalamba and Tandi were. We're busy tracking Hokumori, or trying to track Hokumori. And so, unfortunately, not today, Michelle. We're very, very far. She's right in the east of the reserve, and we're actually right on the western boundary, near the western boundary at the moment. So maybe this afternoon someone can go track Kalamba. So we actually females in this area. This is Shadula's territory. So everyone's up with difficult requests this morning. Craig, I will definitely keep an eye out for honey badgers. The best honey badger sightings I've had here have been on bushwalk. And the other morning on my way to Nelspruit, I actually saw 2 honey badgers up ahead on Sandy Patch. So you never know. Now the reason you see stuff like honey badgers better on foot is because when I'm not yapping like I am at the moment, we move quite quietly through the bush, and so you can actually surprise stuff. Now, someone who's not moving quietly because he's bumbling down the road in a car is Steve.
Yes, thank you very much. If you listen carefully, ladies and gentlemen, you might be able to hear some francolins, and now we can see too, well, the crested francolin is just disappearing into the undergrowth there. One of the many sort of ground nesting bird species that we find here. There he is, giving us a little look through the long grass. They're making hay while the sun shines now that the grasses are all seeding, feeding almost exclusively on grass seeds at the moment, and then we're scraping through the numerous amounts of elephant, rhino, and whatever dung there might be to look for grubs and insects. See how camouflaged it is. Look at that. Easily identified by that white supercilium, that white line through the eye. The orange legs contrasting to the black beak. A lot of people will confuse the Natal spurfowl with this one, but the Natal spurfowl has got an orange beak and orange legs and lacks that white line through the eye. Just plucking insects and grubs, caterpillars off of the branches. After these rains, lots and lots of insects emerge. James, I'm trying to think which tree species here will show their winter colors first. And normally what happens is it's the trees on top of the slope. So in my opinion, the red bush willows, I will find you a sample shortly. I'm having a look around. Essentially, the reason for trees showing their winter colors is because they start lacking water. If you manage to water that tree, or if that tree was connected to the ground table, water table, it wouldn't lose its leaves. But if they're high up on slopes, then they generally are the first ones to wilt. So they start lacking the moisture, they'll drop the leaves, and then they carry on. But there's not too many slopes in this area, so let's see. I'll see if I can find you a red bush willow. But after the rain we've had, it won't be any time soon. Probably in the next month or so, the trees will start taking a little bit of strain. That is, if we get no rain, any more further rain. Rain is very important to this environment. It is what we call a summer rainfall environment. So those of you wanting to visit the Sabi Sands, the summer months can be fantastic, but you could potentially get wet. And with the rainfall comes the insects, and with the rainfall also in our summer months comes very high temperatures. So if you are a fan of any of those altogether, it is a marvelous time of year. There's lots of baby animals, lots of butterflies and insects. The flowers are out, the trees are blooming. So it's a beautiful time of year to come. Dale, it is very safe to come to South Africa. Very, very safe to come here. Obviously, the hotels and the B&Bs and the car rental systems are all very strong and very well put in place in South Africa. There have been some bad reports back in the past, but every country has those stories. We just freely, our newspaper freely admits to everything that goes on in the country, but every country in the world has got its problems. But South Africa is a fantastic place to visit. And if you're coming with dollars, or there's a bird just up there, Fergie, if you can get him while I carry on. If you're coming with dollars or pounds, or actually any currency, euros, you're going to do very, very well in South Africa. We struggle to go abroad because it's so expensive. Here, ladies and gentlemen, we have got the most photographed bird in the Greater Kruger National Park. It is the national bird of Botswana, and I believe also Kenya. Isn't that a beautiful bird? It is called a lilac-breasted roller, and it is perched atop a dead tree. The dead tree could have been killed for many reasons. A number of the reasons revolve around elephant activity. I was mentioning before the big elephant ecosystem engineer, but what they do by killing trees is they provide enormous breeding potential for birds. There's a number of bird species. There's a number of bird species that actually nest in holes in trees, and the elephants are responsible in a large part for providing those dead trees, and birds will nest in the holes for many, many years to come. Woodpeckers obviously attack the dead tree that has got grubs inside, beetles of the longhorn beetle sort of variety, and then those holes are carved out and made larger, and starlings, rollers, woodpeckers, barbets, all sorts of species. I think there's about 29, 30 odd bird species alone here that nest in cavities. And John Michael, there we have got you the lilac-breasted roller. The light is not as good as we'd like, but this is a live show, and maybe we'll ask him in 5 minutes to turn around. But let's carry on as we drive into the sunrise. The sun is warming up, and it's going to be a beautiful day. There's not a cloud in the sky. Ferg was saying it is going to get rather hot, so I think we might need to do our run earlier this morning than later. Are you hearing me, Nix? Nikki likes to run. She's an FC. She's the one talking in my ear at the moment, giving me all the wonderful updates and questions from you people back home. So we're doing a little bit of a dam mission. We're going to go have a look at all of the dams, see what animals might be moving in and around. It's nice to see all the little pans and puddles are full of water. So my assumption is correct from yesterday. Animals don't really need to move around too much because of the huge availability of water at the moment. But let's go to someone who's on foot, Brent Leo Smith. So what we found here is a little burrow in the ground. I don't know if you can see it, folks. There's a little keyhole shape over here. We're just on the wrong side of it, and there is This is a scorpion burrow. It's quite easily seen by the way that this is ejected out the side. And because it's in a sort of keyhole shape, that's how the scorpion's body goes in and out of the hole, obviously with its tail flat. And this would be one of two types of scorpions that we have here. We have about 12 potential species we can find in the area, but this would be two. One of the burrowing scorpions, either the shiny burrowing, or I'm trying to think of the other one. There's two different burrowing species here, and this would be exactly what they do. And because of the rainfall, mud has gone into his hole, so he's come out, excavated. You can see how fresh and clean that is, and also see how he's bringing a beautiful soil from the bottom. Look how nice it is. Those of you who like to garden, you'd love to plant your little seeds in that soil, wouldn't you? So, small little spot there is bringing up different soils. It's changing the diversity in that small area. Let's go to Tristan, who I think is having some success finding a leopard.
Well, we are indeed. So just off to my right-hand side is what we're looking for. So there is a female leopard right next to us. Now, we were saying that we wanted to try and find her because it's a female that's got a cub, and she's calling. I think the cub is here. I saw something run just now, and I think the cub is here. So she's calling, and I think the little one is in this area. So I just need to let the other guys know. Yeah, I think the Montana is here. I saw something running there. So I just had to let the guys know that the little one is also here, which is amazing. So she's definitely calling. Now, this will be the first time, if we can, to get to see this little cub, which is going to be so cool. I haven't seen it yet, which is exciting. But when they make that sound and they contact call like she did, then it's often a good sign that the cub is around. Now, see the grass is moving? There it goes. It's running across. It's going up towards the termite mound. So let's just sit and be patient, but it's definitely here. How exciting is this? So this is a first glimpse of Kuchava's little baby, and I haven't seen it before, which is amazing. We don't know exactly how old it is. We think it's about 4 months, maybe somewhere around there, and we didn't even know it was here. Literally, she was walking, and all of a sudden, look there, the little ears are. Hello, little one. Welcome to stardom, little cub. So there we go, another little one, and another addition to the lineage of Kruger, which is, so for those of you who don't know who Kruger was, she was the kind of queen of our area, and she had a whole bunch of offspring. And one of the daughters she had was Tundi, and Tundi then had Kuchava, which is the mother of this little cub. So it's a kind of great grandmother, but it's still very shy. Shame. It's getting used to the fact that there are cars. Obviously, normally this would be a one-vehicle sighting, but we didn't even know the cub was here. So what we do now is just try and sit still, let the little cub get used to the fact that we're here, and then slowly but surely we'll kind of move around. But you'll see now as mom moves, so the little one will also move with mom. But how cool is that? I think we're going to probably only have a fleeting glimpse of this little one. I don't think we're going to have a situation where we're going to see it too much, but let's see how we go. How exciting is that? It's so cool to be able to see a little cub for the first time. Leopard cubs are not something you get to see every single day, so amazing. And that's one of the reasons why the Sabi Sands is just such a special place. It's because of leopards, and it's famous worldwide because of its leopards. There's a situation where the leopards are quite relaxed, and we have a situation where we can see, things like little leopard cubs. It's absolutely incredible. So we're being spoiled this morning. What an epic surprise. So I believe a lot of you are celebrating. I know Taylor will be super jealous, because Taylor has been looking long and hard for Kuchava. Can you see? Well done, Senzo. So Senzo is doing spotting. The other thing is that this is a small miracle that we've even got signal where we are. We're right up against the Cheetah Plains boundary, and normally we don't have signal here, and so it's amazing that we've somehow managed to get it. So there goes the little cub. Shame, it's just in front here. You can just see the grass moving. It's so small that in this long grass all you see is grass bouncing around. So ages, this one is younger than Tundi's cub. It is born about 2 months, 3 months later. There it goes, bounding after mom. So we're going to try and kind of keep up with her, but she's going to move quite quickly, is Kuchava. She's going to kind of keep going north, and I wonder if she maybe came to fetch the cub to take her to some food, which is going to be interesting. So we're going to try and squeeze through here. Oof, it's quite thick inside. You'll see there's another vehicle in front of us. And I think what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to do a big wide berth, and then we're going to go and turn off and try and just sit quietly and wait for the little one and for mom maybe to come towards us. I think that's going to be the best bet. And so while we try and do that, let's send you back across to Steve, who's busy bumbling about.
Yes, we're bumbling, and we have found a bird, which is a very pretty bird, and he has gone. Of course he's gone. That is the way it works. Birds have feathers, ladies and gentlemen, and they tend to fly. And that bird was aptly named the go-away bird, so it went away. So apologies for that. As I was finding my book to show you the photo of the diversity of lories, so to speak, that we find in southern Africa, the go-away bird is the most common that we find in the savanna ecosystem. There he flies. Maybe he's going to land for us, because he is probably not going to land for us, but we might get him. He heard me calling, I think. He likes my accent. I've got a little bit of a sort of a twang in my accent, so he thinks I'm well traveled. Ferg says I've got a smooth voice. Ferg, I don't know how quite to take that, sir. Is that a compliment or an insult? I'm not sure. But anyway, the go-away bird feeds on a whole lot of seeds and fruits and is a bushveld specialist. We find them in these open savanna systems, and I will find you some of the fruit that they enjoy. Well, I'm checking the one bush, and it seems that that bush has been completely
Now, unfortunately, a few little technical glitches. That's okay, we'll get those sorted out and then we'll be all fixed up. But we're still trying to kind of follow through this thicket. You can see it's insanely long grass. It's really, really difficult to actually even see where this leopard's gone. I can't see her at the moment, so I don't know where she is in relation to me. I think she's off to my left-hand side and kind of moving away from us a little bit. It's so thick in here, though, that I don't know how much more we're actually going to see of this leopard itself. But how exciting nonetheless. Now there's a massive hole. Let's not fall inside there. Aardvarks are quite busy in this area. You often get big holes that form in this section, so you've got to be a little on the careful side. And so the guys are asking me where she's gone, and I have absolutely no idea. I have a funny feeling she's taken this little cub and kind of moved it off and tried to just kind of find a little thicket to almost hide in. And so there's a big stump there. Let's try and get around that. So wisteria, no, the cub has not been named. Remember, this is the first time we've seen it, and I think it's only probably maybe the 4th or 5th sighting of this cub by anybody. So it hasn't been seen regularly at all. As far as I know, actually there's only about 3 sightings of it that have happened. So it's still very, very small, and it hasn't really been seen very much. You can see it's still quite shy. It doesn't really know what to do, and so it's a situation where we don't really know it very well. So no, it hasn't been given a name. But what we do have, which obviously is not a leopard, is probably one of the most beautiful types of trees that we get here. So it's called an erythrina, which is a coral tree. So it has the most beautiful flowers, these bright red, orange kind of colors that come out, and it stands out massively against all of the other sort of greens that we have out here. And you can see there's a few little wasps that are busy pollinating there. They go up into the flowers. There it is, walking around on that sort of middle flower, moving about. And like I say, this adds probably some of the most spectacular color that we have out here. And this particular one is called a dwarf coral tree. They're fairly common out here. We see them here on Chitwa. There's one also on Djuma that I know about. And then if you go further south, there's quite a few of them in the Sabi Sands further south of where we are. But one of the more spectacular trees that we have out here. Good. I think, unfortunately, we're not going to probably have too much more luck with this leopard. Let's just try a little bit further forward, see what we get. Caitlin, we located Tundi, but nothing on the cub yet. So we've seen Tundi. When did we see Tundi? Not yesterday, the night before. before the rain came, and she was moving about all over the show and kind of went from one block to another and moved and moved and moved. The thing is that she went to the same block that she had come out of during the night. So I wonder if maybe the cub is still there. It's difficult to say. With the rain, I was hoping to try and follow the tracks the next morning and see where she went. And if she went back to that same spot, then we would definitely know that that cub is there. But obviously with the rain, there was no tracks that were left behind. It was completely washed away. And so it's difficult to say what actually kind of happened. But I don't think we're going to find this leopard again. It is just so thick and so dense in here that when she starts to kind of walk briskly, she can hide right in plain sight. No, Kuchava was mated with Tingana for this litter. It wasn't with Hukamuri, and possibly quarantine as well. So difficult to say if it was quarantine or Tingana, but more than likely Tingana. We only saw her mating with Tingana. We didn't see her mating with quarantine, but quarantine was seen with her just after that for a day, and I don't know if maybe they mated briefly and then separated. I'm not quite sure. Difficult, like I say, to say. Without us really following her 24 hours a day, we can't be sure who she's actually mated with. Right, let's see now. We can just negotiate this little bump. Now, I'm sure some of you who have joined us for the first time, because I believe that there are some of you that are new, you might be wondering what I'm talking about with all these names and what kind of it means to be naming leopards and all of these kind of things. So all of the leopards that we're talking about are animals that we see regularly in this area. We're very fortunate, as I was saying earlier, that we have relaxed leopards within our area, and animals that like to kind of spend time in these sections, and they're territorial. So when you get a territorial animal, then you often get to follow it for long periods of time. And so to be able to kind of work out who's who and exactly which animal is which and what's going on and who is kind of spending time with who, we give them these kind of ID names. And so that's where all the names come from. And we've been talking about Kuchava, which is one of our dominant females in the southeast of our traverse, and then she's been mating with a male called Tingana. Now, Tingana is the old dominant male who's currently being pushed out by another fella called Hukamuri, and so that's why people are asking whether or not I know if Hukamuri mated with Kuchava to have this cub. Now I see the vehicle in front has stopped. Maybe they've managed to find her again. My radio is off at the moment because I'm trying to listen to Nikki, so I'm not sure if they have seen her. Now it's actually Ali that's in front, so many of you will know Ali. I think this leopard might be on the side of this termite mound. So I'm just edging closer. So Ali's just telling me that she can see her, which is really good news. So I'm just going slowly along. There she is. Look, she's on top of the mound. Let's see if the little cub comes out. So there we go. Just a bit of perseverance. Isn't she beautiful? In that morning golden light. Absolutely wonderful. See, she's calling. Now, if we just sit still, hopefully the little cub will come out. You probably find the cub still a little nervous. She can probably see the cub. And that contact call that she's making, you hear it's very, very soft. We'll try and just keep quiet so you can hear it. Hear that? So she's making a chuffing sound. She's telling the cub, come, everything's okay. You don't have to worry about these cars. The cars are not here to hurt you. So that's why she's calling the way that she is. This is such a special moment. We're getting a view into the most secretive of animals' lives, and especially when it's calling its little cub. This is when she is comfortable enough to say that I don't mind that you are here. I'm even going to bring out my most prized possession to you by calling it out in front of you. So she's showing complete trust in us, which is absolutely phenomenal. We are super fortunate to be able to be in a situation like this where she's calling the way that she is and being able to kind of spend time with her. Now, hopefully the little cub listens to mom. Some little cubs are a bit kind of naughty in that they don't listen, particularly generally from this particular lineage. So Tandi's little one is very, very naughty and often doesn't listen, which is this female's mom. And that little cub that Thandi has currently, often just watches mom calling and goes and plays and does her own thing. Now, it's vitally important that we do spend time with a leopard like this with the cub. Even if the cub is a little bit sort of shy in the beginning, the only way that it ever becomes a relaxed leopard that is able to kind of sit and be close to the vehicles like its mother is that if we spend time with it from a young age. So it needs to kind of see that the vehicles are these big kind of things that move around, and remember, by instinct, anything that's big and moves is generally dangerous, and so it generally is quite scared of that. But when it watches mom calling it and mom sitting very close, then it'll start to get more and more relaxed with what's going on, and you'll soon have a situation where you have these incredible cats that allow us these intimate glimpses into their lives. So we're being absolutely spoiled by being able to witness this. Very cool. So Lisa, we're not sure, we don't know, but we think possibly Mvula is Kuchava's dad. Mvula was still dominant when she was born, so it could be Tingana, but it could also be Kuchava. Listen. So she's calling. She's telling the cub, come. Everything's okay. You need to come our way now. We're going to try and just keep up with her a little bit, because otherwise it's going to be very difficult to see her. So while I reposition and while I try and kind of keep up with her, let's send you back across to Steve.
Yes, thanks, Tristan. How marvelous is that? I've still to see Kuchava. But we've got something fantastic to show you. We've got one of the coolest birds around, the hamakop. And we've actually got two of them there. I'm only joking. It is a reflection of the other one. And they are very, very well associated with water. And traditionally, they are a bad luck omen for the local Shangaan culture, because they believe that they like to stare at themselves in the water, and that to see them is actually a bad omen with regards to someone's life. And the nests that they build are absolutely enormous. And it is regarded as extremely bad luck to try and take any of the material from the nest of a hamakop, so they are left very, very well in place. Part of the heron family, yes, he's just walking through the water there, probably using his feet to try and disturb the sediment underneath, and to catch something. Look at that. Oh, what a quick strike. There you can see as it lifts its head now, it's got that hammerhead shape. That is the name Hammerkop, is translated from Afrikaans, meaning hammerhead. And can you see the other bird behind him there, Ferg? If we can have another look at the green-backed heron, which is just up there. There he is. He used to be known as the striated heron. You can see, got a very nice crest on his head when he scratches. And then when he turns, you see those brown lines on the chest. Now, very, very... Oh, hello. He's doing a few throat stretches and morning ablutions. Good morning, sir. Or ma'am, I'm not sure. But part of the heron family, they feed on insects, small fish, tadpoles, frogs, and they are a very efficient, what we call fishermen. And when I say that, I've seen these guys catching an insect like a grasshopper, for example, and then in a river, putting the grasshopper in the water just upstream of where it's sitting and letting it float down, and then catching it again and doing that repeatedly until a fish comes to grab the bait, and then the heron moves with lightning speed and then catches whatever fish it is that's come to catch the bait. So they are very effective fishermen, and I think that bodes a lot. Ooh, look at these two. They were doing a little bit of posturing there. Did you see that? See how the hamakop raised his head? Made himself look a lot bigger. I mean, these birds are directly competitive. Their size, you can generally look at the beak structure. The hamakop is not as fast as the heron when it comes to fishing, but more of a sort of scavenger fisherman on the side there. That's a marvelous footage we're getting here, Ferg. Look how gently they walk. And so what we saw there, folks, was something known as intra-specific competition between the two bird species, because they have a similar food resource niche, and so the competition between them will be rather fierce. But we're going to stay here with this hammerkop, see what else materializes. Let's go over to Brent and see what updates he has for you.
So we're on the mission now. We're walking quite quickly. We've just got a report of Hukumuri, somewhere near Impala Plains. So we're quite far away, so we're trying to walk as fast as possible. He's just crossed from Arathusa, which means yesterday he went the opposite way to what we thought he might do. So he must have gone down Philemon's Dip and across that way. So we've got about 2 kilometers to the place where he crossed. So we're going to walk quite quickly. Now, the dew all over the grass around us, which is one of the reasons we are on the road. And yes, to a degree, Shamsung, dew does help tracking, because a lot of the big cats don't like walking in the dew. So they'll walk down big game paths or down the roads. So in that sense, yes, it definitely helps tracking. Now it's time for our morning jog almost. Poor Wiem, he's got to take 2 steps for every one I do. Now, of course, walking through the grass and in the bush, quite often we will get Jeff. Don't me too much. You pull off at the end of bush. No, I don't really get them. Tristan seems to be the chief tick attractor. No one gets bitten more than Tristan does. It's quite funny. Or I think what happens is certain of us, we just don't react to the bites. Steph, Jamie, Tristan all react quite heavily to tick bites. Scott, myself, Jay, as badly as this. From the presenter's point of view, which cameraman gets eaten most, Vim? Brian, yes, Brian. Brian used to get destroyed. Okay, well, it sounds like we're having a few gremlins. It could be the area. We're also moving quite quickly. So we're going to get on the march and send you back to Steve.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry about the gremlins that side, folks. Seems we've had some in our Brents experiencing them, but we've managed to get another visual, another shot at this beautiful heron. And I have watched how magnificently patient they are when it comes to hunting, and they are incredibly fast. I've seen them hunt dragonflies, and if any of you have tried to catch a dragonfly before, you'll know how incredibly fast they are. But the heron is the master of stealth and very slow movements. What a marvelous reflection. So we had a small sort of pan on this treehouse dam, where the water level hasn't risen too much from the rain that we had. There's lots of organic material in the water. It's got a bit of a green tinge, so there'll definitely be some fish in there, all sorts of insect species. Anna Marie, I'd love to show you a hammerkop nest. I'm trying to think where there is one on Djuma. Definitely some interesting ones down on Chitwa, close to where Tristan is right now. But let's see. Let's see if I can find one. But I believe Tristan has managed to find that beautiful cat again. So let's go over to him.
We have indeed, but the grass is incredibly long, so she's kind of tucked up in it at the moment and just starting to groom herself. You can just see her kind of head bobbing up and down in amongst the thickets there. So I'm just trying to wait and see. I don't want to move just yet. I want to see if the little cub catches up with her and kind of comes and sits with her. At the end of the day, we want to try and leave a positive experience in the cub, not a negative one. And so we're just giving her some space, and so the view at this stage is not going to be very good just yet, but we'll sit and we'll just let her groom a little bit and get herself comfortable, and then hopefully the little one will be comfortable enough to come and join mom and then kind of sit there, and then we can maybe think about moving and repositioning. It is amazing how well this cat camouflages. I mean, you can see there, if you had to sort of be walking along here and you weren't paying attention and she sat dead still that is how difficult it is to spot a leopard. So many people think that a big cat like a leopard is easy to find, but you can see there it is almost impossible for her to be seen inside of that thicket. So hopefully she'll kind of settle down. Now, sorry about the smoke. One of the vehicles that's in front of us is not well by the looks of things, and so that's a little bit of smoke that has come out. Now, Senzo, are you struggling to find her again? I think so. Senzo's trying to find her in the long grass. Oh, there she is. Just goes to show you how difficult it is to actually see these cats when they get into a position where they are hidden like that. So, Andrea, no, Kuchava was not litter mates with Tumba. She is the litter before Tumba, so she is double Tumba's age basically. So she's just over 4 now, and Tumba is just approaching 2. So she's a lot older, and that's why she's having. Is a little cub there? Did I see something move there? No, I don't know. She's grooming something, but I can't see if it's her paw or the cub. When they're so small like this, it's difficult. No, I don't think so. The cub would be far more boisterous than this with mom. It also wouldn't sit still for that long. Right, I'm going to just quickly reposition now that she's settling down and grooming before the cub actually decides to show up. Milan, yes, this is Kuchava's first litter. She's a first-time mom, so that's also why she's kept this cub in the most dense, thick, hard terrain possible, and that's why it's been really difficult for us to be able to actually find her and see her. Now I'm going to just try and see if I can actually fit through here. I don't think I'm going to be honest. We're going to try, but let's see. I've got to just get Rusty to squeeze past. Well, we're good there. Look at that. Well done, Rusty. You did a sterling effort. So Rusty is sucked in its sides and made itself as small as possible. Now she's up and moving off again, so she's kind of carrying on, which is strange. I thought she was going to lie down and sit and rest. She was starting to groom, that's why I decided to move, but it seems as though she's up and moving, which is, I suppose, par for the course with her. This leopard, funny enough, is very strange, is that 2 years ago, maybe not even, a year and a half ago, she was probably one of the most difficult leopards to follow. She was quite unrelaxed, and since she became independent, she's actually relaxed very, very quickly, and she's now becomes one of our sort of more seen females, which is very cool. Right, let's try and get through this side. Oh, there was a little mound there. I was hoping she was going to get onto that mound and sit there. That would have been quite nice. Ginger, no, the cub is not safe with all the males around at all at the moment. It's a really difficult time with all of our females and their cubs. They're all going to be struggling to try and keep these cubs safe and alive. It's not easy at the moment for any of our leopards, and the more males that arrive, the harder it's getting for them, and the harder it is for them to kind of keep these cubs alive. Now, I don't see her anymore. I don't know where she went. Can you see her, Sens? Somewhere in this area. So we'll let Ali go first, but I don't see her. Now, the problem is that there's oh, there she is. She's just in front of us. So she's moving kind of from left to right underneath a fallen over power line. So we need to be a bit careful about that. We don't want to have a situation where we hit our antenna on a fallen over power line. I don't know why it's fallen over. I think the Ellies have been naughty and have been pulling over things. And this is obviously how power gets to the lodges. Anna Marie, we could hear the cub just now. There it is, actually. The cub's with her, so the cub is just bounding along with her at the moment. I'm just trying to get into a nice position slowly because I don't want the cub to get too scared. So let's just go nice and slow and see what we can do. Oh, she's going into dense stuff again. No, Kuchava. I'm going the wrong way, girl. I was hoping she was going to push further south because it opens up. Instead, she's just going deeper and deeper into this really dense stuff. Now this is going to flick back. So I'm trying to go very slowly. No. I'm trying to get through here without... No, that's not going to work. Otherwise I'm going to decapitate myself. very quickly, which is not going to be ideal. Let's just try and get... She's so far ahead again. It's really difficult in here. I'm hoping that she just to a point where she just wants to lie down, and then we can sit with her and hopefully the cub will come out. So in the meantime, let's send you back across to Brent and see how much closer he is to Hukumuri's tracks.
We're still marching at speed. We've still got about 1 kilometer to go. Yours was driving into that area. We haven't heard whether he's managed to find him yet. So we are on the move. Leopards, they do this to you from time to time. But nice that Tristan's with Kuchava and the cub. And it is a bit quite interesting at the moment because it's the age of the cub, Kuchava's territory. There's a very good chance that cub belongs to quarantine. I was actually trying to run this through my head earlier. So Kuchava is quarantine's niece, I think. Yes. So what does that make the cub? Hashtag Safari Live. See if you can figure out. What if quarantine's the dad and Kuchava is quarantine's niece? How would you define the cub's relation to quarantine? He's the father and the great uncle, I think. Not sure. Okay, we've still got distance to cover, so let's do that. See if we can find the hook. Ooh. Now, fortunately, I've traveled far and wide all over Africa. And Brandon, the weirdest animal I've seen in person. I have to think about that. I mean, I've seen some pretty weird animals. Well, what a lot of people would consider weird animals, like aardvark, but pangolin. No. I know what the weirdest animal is. Brush-tailed porcupine. Or a Bosman's potter. No. A Lord Derby's alamura, a flying squirrel. Nikki says, what are these animals? So a brush-tailed porcupine is a small porcupine species that lives in the Congo Basin forests. A Bosman's potter, the best way to describe it, it's like a cross between a bush baby and a sloth. Sometimes certain relative of them is called the lorises, and they only occur in Asia and Africa. But and the Lord Derby's alamura is a type of, not a true flying squirrel, but a type of flying or gliding rodent. They're actually quite interesting. I've seen them quite a few different places. What they do is they will maintain flight paths, so they'll trim all the branches in their flying thing. But while I keep flying towards where Hukumuri might be, let's go back to Tristan and Kuchava.
Well, unfortunately we had a view of Kuchava, but she's now disappeared again, so let's try and reposition and see if we can get this right. It's really not easy in here at all, and we're trying to kind of do it as slow and steady as possible, and to try and just kind of go without going directly at her, and that's proving to be very, very difficult because there's lots of holes and fallen over trees and all kinds of other things that's keeping us from getting anywhere near where she is a lot of the time. Now, the last time I saw her, she was kind of just moving off here to the left. Is she lying down there, Sense? Can you see her? No, so she's not there anymore. Kuchava means shy, basically. So it means when something's chava, it's shy, it doesn't want to be near you, it wants to move away from you. And that's because I was saying earlier, her demeanor in the beginning was that of a shy individual. Now, I'm trying to get through here without getting myself completely pinned against the trees. No, I don't know where she's gone. She's gone into thickets and I can't see where she's gone at all. So I'm going to try and see if I can re-find her while we kind of have a look around and send you back across to Steve. sunrise.
Thank you very much. We have decided to stop and in this very immediate area. Oh, you got the green wood whoopers calling there. Sounds like a bunch of cackling women. Okay, so the reason for stopping, ladies and gentlemen, is to just look at the diversity of this immediate spot right here. And I've just realized that this is another species as well. Okay, so in front of me, I have got lovegrass. It's called hairy lovegrass. There's one. And then I've got herringbone grass. The difference between the two of these is that the one is flowering and there's the pollen. The other one is not flowering. That's two. Got feathertop chloris. This is a beautiful grass that we seem to find all over our termite mounds at the moment. That's three. Here is one of the three-horn grasses, congesta, Aristida congesta. You can see how very congested it is there, very easy to remember. Three-horn. Then we've got the gummy grass. This is indicative of seapline areas that get quite moist. And then another pioneer species over here is the spreading three-horn grass. Very similar to the previous three-horn, except you can clearly see how it spreads out like that. Then over here is a grass that I will have to come back to. Quick link over to Tristan and his leopards.
Now, we're just coming out onto a road itself, so I just want to see where she is. I don't want to go around the corner too fast, but I know that she's come out and popped out onto the road, so there she is there. I also don't want to block the view of the others. There's the little cub. Oh, so let's just stop here. Hopefully the little cub will come out. Now, I know there's not much of a view just yet, but we're just going to try and see if the little one will come back out. So the little one is there with it. There it is. You see it bounding along with her? Now, there it goes, bouncing along and trying to move off. So we're going to try and just see if we can sneak forward a little bit, because the view where we were is not very good. Now, is that better, Senzo? So we're trying to just see if she's going to just stay there and whether or not... Oh, there goes the little cub again. Now, we unfortunately are going to have a vehicle that's going to go straight into our shot, so we're going to lose visual of her again. But we'll try and keep up with her now that she's on the road. If we just give her some distance, maybe we'll get lucky and we'll be able to see her a little bit longer and maybe even see the little one bounding around. Wouldn't that be quite nice? I think it'll be very, very cool. So we're going to just take it very slow behind her. Hopefully Kuchava just is marching her to a kill or something like that, and we can then just sit and watch her. Now, this little one will be starting to eat meat already. They normally start to eat meat at around 3 months old, so it should be starting to eat already. Now, I can see it bounding around there in the distance. I'm going to try and just go forward. Like I said, I don't want to get too close because we don't want to try and chase this little one. Wisteria, no. So Tandi and Kuchava are not going to be friendly. They are going to be, now that they've separated, they're both females with little ones. They want to have their own territory, their own space. They don't want to have a situation where they have to compete for that. And so they will try and kind of keep themselves away. Also, a female leopard will sometimes kill another female leopard's cub. So you have to be very careful with that kind of stuff. Now, where did she go? I don't see her on the road. Oh, there she is. There's the little one. Look, look, look. Oh, no shame. Now, you can see that they're still moving down the road. I'm trying to go slowly, trying to see if the little one will come out. It should come out again. There it is. Hello, little one. Super playful as well. So you can see it just running along. Now, we're going to just try and get a little further forward. I don't think Kuchava wants us to follow her anymore. I actually might just leave this sighting now that we've had a visual of her. It's a situation. They're actually playing. That's what they're doing. They're not running from us. I thought they were running from us in a second, and I thought, well, we didn't want to stress her, but they're playing. I can see Kuchava was rolling around in a ball with this little one and having a little kind of game and just having a bit of time together, and there was a little bit of kind of swatting at the paws, and now Kuchava's actually walking, so everything's going to be okay. Let's just try and get here. Now, she's just straight down the road from me. There's the little one. Let's just stop here. The little one's going to stop for a second. Oh, no, it just ran off. Debbie, no, we have no idea. I mean, as you can see, the glimpses of this cub are so few and far between. It's very difficult to sex what this is at the moment, and it's the first time we've seen it. Literally, as much as you've seen it is what we as at Wild Earth have seen. Now, I'm trying to find a space here just to let this alley go, because she's obviously got guests, so we're going to pull off and let them have a chance to be in front. It's going to be fleeting glimpses for a while they walk down the road, and so hopefully we will be able to see them again. Otherwise, I might leave, like I say, and just not put too much pressure on them and have a situation where they can then kind of have the morning to themselves. Right, how epic is this? So cool. Anyway, while we kind of carry on, let's send you back across to Steve and see what he's up to this morning. Now, unfortunately, it sounds like Steve's got a few gremlins on his side, so I'm trying to kind of get a view. It's difficult because we're behind this vehicle, and so she's right far down the road. You can just see her moving there. It's a little difficult to see, and the little cub is actually just in front of her at the moment, so you should see the little one bounding about in front there. You can see she's just looking back at us, and we're trying to keep our distance as much as possible as she goes down the road. There's the little one just running along next to her. So very, very cool to see, and not something you're going to get to see every single day. It's good morning this morning. Whenever you get something like this, it is absolutely awesome. So it's very, very cool to see. Like I say, I'm pretty sure Taylor's going to be very, very jealous. I know Taylor loves Kuchava, and so she's probably wanting to see this more than anything else. Right, now let's just slowly meander forward. So there's Kuchava there. So the little one should be somewhere in that general area. Now all you've got to look for is a blur of spots that comes running across the road in different directions. That's generally, there it comes. So there's, how cool is that? Look at it. Look at it trotting. Hello, little one. Just like Mom, turns around and has a little look at us. How cool is that, guys? Hey, little one, you've got very big ears, typical of your family. And then off it goes. How cute is that? Right, let's keep on with them. They're very far down the road. You can see we're keeping a lot of distance. Normally with a cub like this, with a leopard like this, if she wasn't with the cub, you'd be able to follow her much closer and she wouldn't really care. She's in a situation now where she's got the cub, so she's a little bit more aware of what's going on. And that's why we're just kind of trying to keep a nice big distance between us and her and allow her to meander on her own kind of time and just to walk down the road. But like I was saying earlier, it's vitally important in terms of this cub learning that we're not a threat by doing this kind of stuff. We don't want to get in a situation where we're chasing them, but we also need to have a situation where the cub starts to recognize that we are not a threat in any way. But I think she might go off the road now. And there we go. She's cutting off into a thicket. No, there she's going to stop right there. Tim, you say the cub is very dark. Is that normal? Yes, it is very normal. Remember at this age that their spots are all condensed, and so it looks a lot darker than they actually are. They will eventually have a situation where their spots will kind of grow out and they'll start to lighten up. Also, there's genetics involved. Many leopards are darker than others. They all have different colors. Look, she's going to maybe do a bit of scent marking. You can hear also a squirrel that is alarm calling at her. And there's the little cub, look, doing what Mom's doing. So learning behavior. Hey, little one. How cool is this? Is that not just the cutest thing? There is seriously very few things that are as cute as a little leopard cub. Right, now we're going to have to kind of just catch up a little bit, otherwise we're going to lose view of them round the corner. Now, I'm sure you guys don't mind that we're staying with these two beautiful leopards, but the reason we're staying with them is because Brent and Steve are apparently under a major attack from all things gremlin related, so all things tick related. They're having a bit of a tough time of it, and so you guys are with me and Kuchava and the little one. And like I said, I'm sure none of you are really complaining, because who doesn't want to see a mother and a cub walking down the road? But you can hear the squirrels are going crazy at the moment. They're all shouting at her, and I think that might lead Kuchava to actually go off the road and to take this little one away from where all these animals are going to shout at her. So she's going to be kind of having a situation where she's going to probably leave the road at some point, unless she's on her way somewhere. But she's heading deeper into Chitwa, which is really, really, really good. So, Amelia, the mom will only take the cub well, not even hunting. So the interesting thing with leopards is that they are not like lions or many others that will take their kind of cubs hunting and teach them like that. A lot of the time they will catch food and then bring it to the cub and try and teach the cub that way. Now, before we carry on, I just wanted to show you the size difference between the two paws. So just here we have all the tracks for Kuchava and the little one. So there you can see quite clearly, that's perfect there, Senzo. So you see Kuchava's tracks are the one on the far left, and then just to the right is the cub's track. So you can see the size difference between the little cub and her. Even though it's so small, the cub has still got quite large feet next to mom. So the little one is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and grow into those feet, but they are still much smaller than what Kuchava's are, but you can see nice, fresh, clean, crisp tracks. Right, so let's catch up. Let's keep going. Let's see, there's also a baby hippo that walked past here. It seems like this is a road for all our young animals. It's like a little nursery road. They all get taken down here for a bit of exercise as they walk along. Always nice to see little baby hippo tracks too. They're so funny when they're the size of your hands. Super cute. Right. So Crazy Shady, the cub will go off on its own at, probably it depends on the mother, but sometimes anywhere between sort of 14 months and 2 years. That's generally the kind of time frame. Sometimes you'll have a situation where it will be earlier than that. If you look at Tumba with Tundi, they were separated at a year old. Tundi mated and left him at a year. So it just depends on the female. Some females are sort of more protective of their cubs and will keep their cubs for longer than others. It just depends on the individual. So it's always one of those kind of situations where you try and kind of, you can never really know 100% sure. But there we go. She's on the main road into Chitwa. So if you were a guest coming to Chitwa right now, you would be getting to see that on your way in. Isn't that incredible? We are very spoiled here in South Africa that we have incredible reserves like this. And it's not just here in the northeast corner of South Africa. We also have, amazing game reserves in the south and the west and completely different environments. And we're lucky that we have leopards pretty much throughout all of those reserves. So we have crazy reserves in a place called KwaZulu-Natal, which is really thick and dense and beautiful. And then we have the reserves to the west called the Kalahari, and now the Kalahari has leopards, but they look very different. And it's interesting because you can draw kind of comparisons between the two, because they are both leopard. But in the Kalahari, because it's desert, it's very difficult. They don't have the ability to hunt nearly as much as they do here, and so the leopards here are much larger. We have a situation where our females are the size of the male leopards pretty much in the Kalahari, which is pretty crazy. Look at this, guys. How amazing is this? Hey, little one, are you not sure about us? Now, Kuchava, you're going to lie down right there. What a girl. She's going to lie right there. Hopefully this little one is going to come and suckle from her right at the junction of these roads and be out in the open. This is so cool. Yeah, look, beautiful girl. Well done. And she's done really well. Remember, she's a first-time mom. She's never, ever had a cub before. And to have been raising a cub in this male-rich environment that we're in at the moment is no mean feat. She's done exceptionally well to be able to keep this cub alive. And she seems to be a really good mother, just like her mom and her grandmother. So she seems to have gotten that trait where she's learned very well. There comes the little one. The little one's coming slowly. Cheryl, she is in great shape. Hello, little one. Oh, look at that, guys. How cool is that? Yes, you growling at us. Guys, that is as good as it gets. You can't get any better than that at all. Now, it is just phenomenal. That is as good as it gets. You see, it's still not 100% sure. It's like, Mom, why are we lying right out in the open where there's people that are watching us? I'm not sure about this, but she's going to try and kind of get groomed, and maybe she'll even suckle there. But this is important, like I say, because if Mom is doing this, then we're in a situation where she's learning that we are not a threat to her in any sort of way, shape or form, and that she can then kind of relax and learn that we're not a threat, which is important going forward, because she theoretically, given that she is could be a female leopard, might end up staying here. So when you have female leopards, they will actually stay quite close to where their mom's territory is. If it's a male leopard, then it's a little bit different. Then you'll have a situation where, you know, it might disperse. So it's important, though, that we put in a bit of time now and make sure that we kind of get this leopard to feel relaxed around us. How cool is this? She looks so regal, just sitting right next to the road. Now hopefully, like I say, little one will come back out again. I'm sure it will. It's just kind of wondering about us a little bit and probably thinking to itself, well, I would rather kind of hide away, and only if mom calls me am I going to come out. How amazing, guys. This is very special. We are being absolutely thoroughly spoiled. This is so cool. Now we are going to show many of our other viewers on various platforms what's going on. Now let's see. Leopard girl, I suppose leopards can get deformities when born, but what happens is generally any animal out here, unfortunately, that has some sort of deformity is going to get into a situation where it's going to unfortunately be killed. So things like hyenas, other leopards, lions, will often come into that area and cause a bit of trouble. So, you know, it's difficult. They sometimes, even though you would think that the mother will try care for it, sometimes even the moms will just leave them and not even look after them anymore. So it's one of those kind of situations where generally things here that are not in the strongest health don't survive. And that means not even sometimes a deformity. Sometimes it's just a situation where a leopard just isn't kind of able to deal with it, and the strongest bloodlines then don't go forward. Now, I'm going to reposition quickly, try and get myself into a better place for Kuchava. Seems like she's going to go off the road now. While we do that, let's send you back across to Brent, who seems like he's finally found some signal.
So we are still moving as fast as possible. We've slowed down a little bit because we're getting closer to the area where Hukumuri was said to have crossed. So there are some vehicles looking in the area. They haven't found him yet. So what we're going to do is go find his last tracks and then try to follow him through the grass. As I say, it's quite difficult, especially after the rain, and especially with the length of the grass at the moment. But we're going to give it a good go. Hi, Victoria. Victoria, yes, it's perfectly safe to be out here on foot if you know what you're doing. Unfortunately, between Herbie and myself, we've probably got close on 50 years experience on foot in the bush, so I think we'll be just dandy. Now, there was a question earlier about the strangest animal I've ever seen, and I think the last one I was talking about was the Lord Derby's alimura, which is a type of flying rodent, gliding rodent, and I remembered there's a stranger creature. It's called a chevrotane, a water chevrotane. It occurs in the Congo Basin rainforests. The best way to describe it is a pig duiker leopard cross. So they're very funny. So they look more like a duiker. They eat like a pig, and they have territory like a solitary cat. So they've even got long canines that stick out of the sides of their mouth. They're not very big. They're about this big. So one dominant male will have 3 or 4 females, and they are omnivores. They'll eat meat. They'll eat meat, fruit, plants. It is a water chevrotane. And they look like a sort of fat duiker, but they're not a duiker and they're not a pig. They're somewhere in between. They're their own family, the chevrotane. Okay, let's keep moving. So I think that's probably the strangest creature I've seen in person that I can think of at the moment. A water chevrotane. We used to have a few that used to live around our camp in Gabon, and you could get very close to them. They habituated very, very easily. Okay, so from here, we need to start checking for tracks carefully. And the Hokomori could have come towards Impala Plains. Herbie and I are on the same sort of idea that he's headed towards Gowrie Repeater, though. So we're just going to make sure that he didn't come this way. He has given us a bit of a runaround this morning. So it sounds like a lot of you haven't heard of a water chevrotain. It's not something you would hear of unless you know your Central African rainforests well, but quite a common species in the rainforest. Now, because they habituate quite easily in areas of bushmeat and high human population, they are one of the first sort of species to disappear around forests that are close to people. But they are relatively common still. They're not endangered. Apparently they're quite tasty. That's why they're quite sought after in the bushmeat trade. I think more than being tasty, I think they're just much easier to catch and kill than a lot of the other species out there. So a proper omnivore. They'll hunt birds, they eat fruit, they'll scavenge carcasses. They're a very cool creature. They're very little now. The one in camp used to be very, very cute. Sort of wander around the back of the kitchen. Anna-Marie, as I said a little bit earlier, it's in its own family. It's not a pig, it's not a duiker, it's somewhere in between. A water chevrotain. Just babblers. Always pays to listen, especially now. You can see we've slowed down quite a lot. Hokomori could be watching us at this very second. I mean, yesterday, I spotted him at about 2 meters away from me. Okay. Well, I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to keep concentrating and trying to find our third leopard of the morning. In the meantime, let's go back to Stivovo to see what he's doing.
Thank you, folks. Apologies for the gremlins last time you were with us. We had a frozen picture. We had vervet monkeys alarm calling. We've moved into the area and we can't seem to find anything. They are, to me, one of the most reliable indicators of a leopard or a predator. But so far, nothing. But what I was talking about before, let me stop again quickly, shall I? All of these different grass species, I find it quite incredible. Let me just start. Here we go. Here's another one. Finger grass, very, very high grazing value, regarded as 10 out of 10. Very easy to identify by those fingers. Let's go. Here's this one. Here we have got the easiest grass to identify because it's got those big saw-shaped inflorescence, and this is called sawtooth lovegrass. How fantastic is that? And this is considered a low grazing value grass. And then we have got this one, which is probably regarded as the highest grass around. This is the delicious blue guinea grass, or Panicum maximum, which everyone likes to eat. And these guys require semi-shade to do very well. And on a Freud score, this would be 10 out of 10. And these seeds are very well sought after by many birds, and even myself. I quite enjoy eating these seeds. So that's Panicum maximum. And there is another Panicum. Here we have got the sea pine grass again, so the gummy grass. This is called gummy lovegrass. Eragrostis gummy flower. All of the love grasses are called Eragrostis, after the goddess of love. And quite easy to remember because this one is gummy, so gummy flower. Quite simple and straightforward. Here we have got one of the Sporobulus species. I can't tell you the common name right now. Sporobulus. Herringbone grass. This is a very easy one to remember because it kind of looks like fish bones, don't you think? And this is also an indicator of water. And you could throw these grasses into stagnant water to dispel bilharzia, which is a schistosoma parasite that we find inside of water. So the grasses are fantastic and diverse, but we're going to go over to Tristan, who has got that cub.
We do. We have Kuchava is just laid down now. Now I'm just going to position ourselves because then the cub will come to where Mom is, and we just want to get a view of her, and then the little one will follow. The little one's bounding around. It went and chased a francolin just now, so it's got lots and lots and lots of playful attitude, much like Tlalamba has also got. So it's very similar to her cousin, or what I don't know what you would call it, but it's basically, I think it's her cousin. But anyway, she's very similar in the way that she plays and runs around and chases everything. And so she was chasing some francolins, and the good news is that this little cub is getting more and more relaxed with us, which is wonderful. So this time that we're spending here now, she's kind of slowly creeping around, and the proximity to us and her movement towards us is a lot more than what it was just now. So very happy that we're spending a bit of time. She's learning nicely now, and it's just us that is here. So if we're quiet and we sit patiently, I'm pretty sure this little cub is going to come out very, very soon. And so it's a great opportunity for us to just spend some time and really enjoy the fact that we're getting the privilege of seeing this little leopard cub. There it comes. Look, 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 look. There it comes. Hello, little one. Now we are more than likely going to show this, like I was saying earlier, to viewers on a number of our platforms. So I'm going to keep quiet for a little bit while we set that up. Now, we're going to just sit here with her for a little bit. I think she's settled though. I think she's found a spot to just settle down and rest and have a little groom, some shade that she's got there. So it's the perfect spot for her to relax. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to, well, a beautiful sunny day with a seriously special sighting. What we've got here is a female leopard who's got her first ever litter of cubs, and it's the first time that we have seen this little cub. So it's super, super exciting. It's been an amazing morning. We've been trying to follow her through thickets, and eventually she's stopped like this, and the little cub is there moving around with her. And I think cub is maybe having a little morning snack in the form of milk. Now, we are live from South Africa, which means that you can interact with us. So remember that you can ask any questions that you have about this leopard. You just post them in the comment sections below, and we'll try and answer as many as possible. My name is Tristan. On camera, I've got Senzo, and it's really amazing that we are sitting here with the leopard. It's so, so cool. And this particular female, like I say, has got this little cub, and the cub is very, very young. So the cub is sitting there with her and is just relaxing and taking it very easy. So Mom is just sitting there and just watching what's going on. And like I say, the thing is with her is that she's having a situation where she's just watching what's going on because the cub is probably feeding at the moment. Now, Francisco, you're watching in Brazil. It's lovely to have you with us. It's always amazing that we have people watching from all over the world. And Gail, there's a little one, you see it? Now, Gail, you're watching from Oklahoma, so we've got from South America to North America. Maybe we should try and see if we can get all the continents on board during this. Now, remember, guys, you can ask lots of questions. We love to hear from you, so if you do have any questions about leopards and cubs or just South Africa in general, we'd love to answer anything that you've got. But she's going to groom this little leopard cub of it. Like I said, they've been walking quite a bit this morning, and so they would have picked up little ticks and grass seeds and all those kind of things. And so Mom is going to clean up the little cub, make sure that she's in good condition, or he's in good condition. We don't know if it's a male or a female yet, because this is the first time we're seeing it. So it's an amazing thing to have all of you on board with us to introduce this little one to, well, the world. Now, so, Sue, you're watching all the way from Australia. So we've now got Australia, South America, and North America. And Nikki, did you say somebody was in India too? And New Zealand and Nepal. So we've got people from all over the world watching, which is absolutely amazing. It baffles my mind how we're sitting here in the middle of the African bush and being able to show this to all of you, which is very special. So Candace, the cub will generally feed every time mom is around, because what happens is that mom often moves and she goes to go and hunt. Remember, leopards are solitary animals. They don't have anybody else that can hunt for them. So she leaves her cubs stashed in a thicket like what we're in. She'll go off and she'll go and hunt, and sometimes that can be a day, sometimes it can even be as much as 2 days, and then she'll come back and she'll suckle this cub, and the cub will feed really nicely. And then if she lies with the cub for a long period of time, you'll find that this cub will sometimes suckle even 3, 4, 5 times through the course of the day and keep its belly nice and full and fat. And we saw them just now running around and could see them quite nicely, and the cub is in really good condition, and so is mom. So both of them are looking really healthy, really big and full, and that's a good sign. Is any time that you're seeing a little one and its mom looking healthy, that's always good. Now, this little cub has got a lot of adversity against it at the moment. We have a serious amount of drama that's been playing out with our leopards. It's not been easy at all for any of our females, because they've got lots of intruding males at the moment. There's a lot of different males that have arrived and come into this area, and that poses a massive threat for her little one. Now, David, yes, she is cleaning the cub. I think the cub is suckling, and so while it's suckling, she's just doing 2 in 1 and giving the cub a little clean at the same time. You'll see its ears pop out every now and then. There it is. You can see its tiny little ear sticking out through the grass. I know it's very difficult and very thick at the moment, but this is the way that leopards like it. They like to be in areas where they can hide. Rachel, yes, it is just the one cub as far as we've ever known. So this is only the 3rd time this cub has ever been seen by anyone in this reserve, or 4th time maybe. And so we're very lucky that this is our first time to see it as Wild Earth or Safari Live. And so, we only know of the one. It's very common, though, when leopards have their first litter to only have one in the start, and then as they get older, so they progress and they start to have 2, 3, and sometimes even as much as 4, which is quite insane. But we're just trying to see the little one. Hello, little one. Is it going to climb on top of mom? Very, very cool. That is so amazing. Now, I hope that you all loved this. Remember that you can catch us twice a day, and you just Google Safari Live, and we do this, like I say, twice a day. It's been an absolute pleasure having all of you with us, and we hope to see you on a safari soon. So guys, how cool is this? Did you see that little face poking over mom's face? Look at that. They're bonding. Little one is right there with mom. How special. We are really spoiled. In the last few months we've had Kalamba that has been around, Djuma, and now Kuchava and Chitwa. It doesn't get any better than that. We've got 2 kind of little leopard characters that we've been able to meet and to kind of see, and that is a very special thing in such a short period of time. So we're super fortunate, and hopefully mom and daughter will be able to both respectively raise their cubs. It's going to be really trying for both of them. They're really going to have a tough time. Kuchava's in a better place than where Tandi is, and the reason for that is because Tingana is still hanging around Chitwa regularly, and we think that she might have mated with Quarantine, who's also around Chitwa. So she almost has the buffer of those 2 leopards being here, whereas Tandi is a little bit more in the firing line at the moment. So it's actually probably a better thing, because Tandi's got a lot more experience and is probably in all likelihood going to use every little bit of her experience to try and keep her cub safe, as well as, we hope that she's going to be able to keep that cub safe. We obviously have our doubts as to whether that cub is still alive, but you never know. Maybe Tandi's some miracle has kind of stashed that cub somewhere and it is still with us, which would be amazing. But anyway, it's a special thing that we've been able to spend as much time as we have with tiny little leopards over the last little bit, and now to be sitting here all on our own. We've got a leopard sitting here. She's grooming. You can see she's completely relaxed, and even the cub's movement has changed. You see that it's no longer trotting away. It's not running across the road. It's just moving slowly around, as it probably would if we weren't here. So that's really special and very, very cool. And it's important, like I say, that we stay here and just enjoy this and spend some time with this little one. There are some helmet strikes flying over Kuchava. See, she's just growling at them. Good. Now, while we sit and enjoy this, let's send you back across to Steve. I wonder if he's had any leopard luck.
No luck, just of yet. We did find some very fresh tracks of a male leopard walking down the road. They even stopped to have a little bit of a toilet stop. But we're going to follow up on that shortly. I wanted to quickly just finish off with a couple of these little grasses. Remember, I showed you the feathertop chloris already. Grazing value is pretty average. It's not too decent. Let's go on to the next one. And we have spoken about these before. These are two of the awn grasses. They are both known as pioneers. Ooh, I've got a beetle inside one. These are the reasons why we wear things to cover our socks. Have a look at this beetle, Ferg. How marvelous is that? I wonder what it is. It's like a little jewel beetle of sorts. I don't know. Definitely a beetle. How diverse. Just sitting on this piece of grass, waiting for who knows what. Okay, so the reason why I was showing you all of these grasses is to indicate from a diversity point of view, all of these grasses have got different values, they've got different reasons for being in the environment, and as managers in the Kruger Park, we look to maintain biodiversity. If we wanted to have cattle, we wanted to maximize beef production or animal production, we would produce one grass and we'd focus on that grass of a high quality. But the diversity is important. You want the weak grasses, you want the annual grasses, you want the long-standing perennial grasses that don't taste very well. You want the ones that burn well. You want the ones with lots of chemicals. It's all part and parcel of the process. So that's why we find many, many species in the Kruger Park, but only 11 to 12 of them are of management importance. But it's important to know most of them. Okay, we're going to continue on, see if we can pick up on these tracks. I'm not quite sure where this male has gone, but he was walking in a relatively steady pace. I wonder if he's turned up onto the road to the north, which means he'd be following back up into Djuma, into our area, or if he's crossed down south there, which would make it very difficult to follow. One of the landowners was in the area here also trying to find him, but he's driven all over the place. So, Trish, it is a very beautiful little beetle. I'm going to hold on to him. I've been throwing him away. Should we have another look, shall we? Here he's coming out. There we go, in the light. Any IDs, please, ladies and gentlemen. I'd be most appreciative. Just move him a little bit. Shall I turn him for you, Ferg? Let's turn the prop around. Here we go, marvelous. Oh, very cool. The diversity of beetles is phenomenal. There are so many, so many different species, and they go through what we call a complete life cycle, metamorphosis life cycle. Go from an egg to a larvae to a pupa, and then they can become something completely new. I'm not 100% sure what this species is. I am trying to get in depth with my insects of late, so any assistance from all of you wonderful viewers out there would be marvelous. Very cool. The Hulk fly. Okay, that is an interesting description. Is very, very green. It almost looks like a darkling beetle, but green. He's got a bit of a powdery sort of touch to his back, but I don't know. Well, let's go back over to Tristan and Kuchava with her little cub.
Well, she's up and moving now. She went and had a little drink. There's a little puddle that was close by, and she went and drank, and now she's kind of moving sort of away from us. There comes the little one, bounding behind her and going towards Mom. Now, we're going to let them walk quite far from us first, because I want this cub to realize that our voices are not something to worry about. But look at how the cub's walking now. You see the difference in its behavior from when we first started, where it was bounding away and running. Now look, it's just ambling right next to Mom, in front even, and just not even worried about us at all. There's no kind of running or fear or anything like that, which is really good news. Now, I think Kuchava is going to stash this cub here. This is where I think she's going to leave the cub, somewhere in these drainage lines. This is a good spot to have them, and really good spot to hide a little one if she needs to go off and hunt. Now I apologize if you see an aerial or anything like that. She is moving right behind the car, and I want her to just carry on and to have a situation where she can cross the drainage before I follow. I don't want to have a situation where we in any way make her feel that she's not kind of, well, that's the little cub feels like it's nervous. So we're just gonna wait for it to go a little bit further. As you can see now, they've gone quite far, which is perfect. Now I can follow behind. Eric, I don't think so. And the reason why I don't think these are the leopard tracks Taylor found is that this is very far from where those tracks were found. Kuchava, as far as we know, as a female, even without the cub, never really roamed up into that area. It's not a part of her territory, and so for a female to take her cub out of her territory is very odd. So I don't think so. I don't think it's a situation where she's kind of gone up that far. And also that the track size that we saw from where Taylor was is more to me indicative of